Bam, you're on.
Bam, we're here. So, how many of you are big fans of coincidence? Huh?
It's no accident.
There are no coincidences.
There are no coincidences. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing in and through this guy. Thanks for sharing that, Kim. That's awesome. Well, we got a couple more sections I want to touch on briefly. One of them is just some basic music stuff. So for the musicians, I'm going to challenge you real quick with a couple things. It might be a little bit of repetition for you. For those of you that are here, tag along with us. You're worshipers, so music is a part of what we do and probably something you appreciate in your walk with God. So as the musicians get better and submit to this, you're going to enjoy your journey better. How's that? You all still with me?
Yes.
Yep. Getting there.
Okay. Language of music. Anybody speak Spanish? You getting there? Hola.
¿Cómo está?
So, habla música?
Speak music.
Do you?
Yeah?
Good answer.
Okay.
No, that's a great answer because that means you speak music's a language. You know, there's some real practical parts to it that are, you know, if you've heard, I've been saying a G chord for quite a while here, having fun with this. There's an alphabet, a numeric reference to that. There's a science to music that's very numeric in its sense. And one of the things that I really like to encourage musicians, especially singers and otherwise, is kind of delve into music and music theory, even at the most basic level. Because, for instance, if Keelani, because I'm picking on you a lot, because I know you play and you lead. If you had a group of musicians and you're leading a song, you'd know how to tell them to go to the 4 chord and then go to the 5 chord. You might even know that in the key of G, that'd be a C and a D. So you know how to direct them where you want them to go because you understand the language, but you also know how to communicate to them. So if you said to me, go to the 4 chord, then go to the 5 chord, then go to the 6 minor and hold that for 2 bars, I know exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's kind of one of the things in the language of music that we want to give a nod to. She does, doesn't she? You actually knew what I just said. So does she. Anybody else? Did I just lose you at 6 minor?
Yes.
Okay.
I know the words.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay?
I can do it if you give me the letter.
Yeah, see? So what I went to as a 6 minor would be the 6th note chord, and minor playing it as a minor chord versus a major chord. How do you know the difference? Major chords make you smile, minor chords make you frown. So here's a major chord, minor chord.
No, that's the best one. That's the best one right there, that minor.
I'm actually working on a new song in a minor key. It's a beautiful thing. I think you'll like it. You ready? Can I share it? I just started it.
No.
No?
You have amnesia.
You don't like it, or you've heard it before?
No, like
Nothing's new.
Nothing's new under the heavens. God created that song.
I thought I was onto something here. So, you know, take a few minutes every week, a few minutes every day. Use the resources that I didn't have when I was a young budding musician, like YouTube and different places like that, the intranet, you know, on the web, and find out how to do some of these things. It's really pretty simple. But if you're a leader and you're in a musical ministry especially, this is something you really want to be able to do. So, for you musicians, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that's it, right? That's it, just count to G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Within that, there's things we call sharps and flats, where a note goes up. If you look at a piano, the black keys are part of those half-step kind of intervals. There are only 12 notes in music, so this is actually not that hard to get a hold of in terms of understanding the basics of that, okay? So for the musicians, and this is, I really want to keep this super simple. If you know the names of the note on the piano, you know the names of the notes on the strings of a guitar if you're a guitar player, depending on what your instrument is, and you understand the difference between a half step and a whole step, you're 90% there in your music theory, okay? So if I go to, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to play a middle C chord, or middle C note. If I go up based on a scale thing I have, I need to know what this note, this note, this note, this note is. If I understand the notes on the piano, and when I go through 12 of them, 11, they start over. We're over, so there's really only 12 notes we need to be aware of. Learn the names of the notes. If you're a guitar player, learn the names of the strings, okay? And then learn what we call a chromatic scale. It's in your book, and it starts on a C for our practical purposes, because a lot of things start on piano with middle C. Piano, if you play what we call a major scale on the piano, if you start on the C note, all you play is white keys. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol. It's usually one of the easiest places to start with the music theory. So you learn that chromatic scale. Here's the cool thing about a guitar and a piano. If I were to go on a piano from one note to the next note, it's what we call a half step. If I do it on a guitar from a C, it's the exact same thing. The guitar is a half note instrument. Piano is a half note instrument. So these are great places to visualize and learn some of your music theory. So learn that chromatic scale, musicians. And you're 90% understanding the math on this, all right? I didn't hear anything. All
Yes,
right?
got it.
It's all in your book there. And I would spend some time, even if you're just a singer, where you can learn
Just
that.
a singer.
Just a singer. If you go a little farther down there, you're going to see a picture of a piano keyboard. And you're also going to see a picture of a guitar fretboard.
Oh.
You singers could literally find C on a piano by that scale right there, because it shows, see two black keys?
Yeah.
One right to the left of it is C. You could train yourself how to sing from C, what a whole step is. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do. And train yourself to see what those notes are, what they actually mean, and rehearse yourself. And work that into a discipline of what you're doing. You'd be light years ahead of just coming in and singing along with tracks, because you're starting to understand music language as well as discipline your voice. So just something to consider. All right? We're not going to get much farther than that. Use those tools in there. If you're a musician and you don't read music, there is a scale in there that shows basically a treble clef that's right below the piano. It shows that first note C, and it shows how that note should appear on a musical staff. So eventually, if you see that on a musical staff, it translates into this on a keyboard. It's really so much easier than people think. I was in Lima, Peru in July. I was teaching a guitar class with an interpreter, and I had to translate my stuff into Spanish to teach it. These guys didn't read music. In 20 minutes, we had them picking out notes on the guitar from what they were reading on a staff, because we pointed to, here's the fretboard, here are the notes. Here's what those notes mean here. Let's take a second. If this is a C note, and then what would this note be? And they tell me what the note is. Well, if this is C here, where would you find it on the fretboard? And they'd find it on a location, put their finger down, and eventually would be able to play the chord. And we did this in 15 or 20 minutes, so anybody can learn to do this, okay? Use those tools, challenge yourself.
You know, Cory, I know this sounds stupid, but I just now realized there's no E sharp and there's no B sharp.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how the guy who invented a piano decided to do it that way?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of questions I got when we get to the other side.
I mean, I never
You
thought
know-
of it before, but I just now realized it.
For whatever reason, the people that really kind of crafted what we would call modern music theory, you've heard of flats and sharps. If I were to take the note C again, and I sharp it, means I want to take it up a half step. If I go to a D, and I flat the D, I get the same note as a C sharp.
Right.
You can only sharp up or flat to one location. So what you end up with is C sharp, D flat are the same note,
That's right.
and they're called what they call enharmonic. So they mean the same thing. Where that works out in music is depending on the instrument you play. For instance, brass instruments tend to read in flats. Stringed instruments, guitar and piano, tend to read in sharps. And it's just kind of how things are. So you know, I might be playing a song and charting it in A sharp, but trumpet players and sax players, they're learning in B flat. We don't play sharps, we play B flat. The way their scale works and everything like that, the voicings, it's easier to read the flat keys than it is to put a whole bunch of sharps and read the sharp. It's just kind of the way that the folks designed it. It's every action is an opposite and equal reaction. Whoever decided some of the science that we take for granted, this was some of those rules that were put in place, and they make sense, but I don't know why they chose to do that, but they did. So we just embrace it. Sharps, flats, 12. You know, in Indian music, and I think even in some types of Chinese music, in Indian music, we have 12 notes in our scale. I think Indian music has like 27 notes.
Wow.
So they have these little
India
semitone,
dot.
little semitone things. Yeah, it's just interesting. So our culture, our music, this is how we read, and this is what we do. And of course, in the church, being where we're at, this is what the tools that we use. You know, I'm not going to get into the building a worship service necessarily. That would be something I'd really want to do with worship leaders. If you have questions about that, I mean, it's all here. There's some great ideas to address for the worship leaders part of this. But I want to pick up on what I've mentioned a few times already, and I want to apply it across the board to our life in ministry and really our life in general. Is that Psalm 46:10? Be still, comma, and know that I'm God. I said down here at the bottom, is being intentional in our preparation first, taking the time needed to quiet ourselves and hear from God about the direction of worship is essential. Well, we can put that in there. Huh?
We don't know where you are.
Worship pastor leader is a psalmist.
49.
Page 49, are they numbered?
Wow, we skipped a
Oh,
bunch.
page
Okay.
49. Yeah, the whole music thing, we could spend 2 hours there alone, and if you're not really up to that place yet, I would challenge you to get up to speed, apply some of those things. For instance, Kalani, you know your major scales, so you know how chords are built, so you know what a 2 and a suspended 4, sharp 5, all that is. It's all math, isn't it? A sharp 5, I go 1, 3, 5. Well, there's a 5 sharp in it. There's your sharp 5 chord. It's kind of an augmented approach. Sharp the 3 and the 5. Got your minors and augmenteds. These things start to overlap, but it's just math. You know, 1, 3, 5, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is 1. So 9. What's a 9? Well, that's the 2. Oh, I could play it up here, or I could play it down below. Well, there's a math equation that says if you do a 9, if you do a 2, it's below. If you do a 9 up above, you have to add the 7, right? Minus 7. See, I just spoke Greek to you. But if you know the rules of how music and chords and things are built, this is so easy. And you can just look at a chord and go, oh, it's a minor, and it's got a 7 in it, and a 9, so the 9 would be the 2, so I play it like a ba-da-da, and there it is. And most anybody with no musical background can sit down and put the pieces together in math.
Did you
It's
teach
not that
that
hard.
yourself, or did you take classes?
I learned it in the 8th grade.
8th grade.
I had a band director that taught us, he taught us
Serious.
intervals, which is a great thing to do to learn how to hear intervals. The difference between this note is a third.
Oh, Columbia.
Okay? There's always a melody that we would learn to what that was, and we'd learn what a minor third, what a major third, what a suspended fourth. We'd hear the intervals, and then we just learn what we call the chromatic, the major scale, how to build a scale, and then a thing called the circle of fifths, which is basically where you find the key and the notes in a major scale in that key. All right, that was really intense. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, that was Latin for some of you, and I know it is. And but it's in there, and literally you could break this thing down a bite at a time. And I could sit with you for a half an hour and show you this, and show you on the keyboard, and you'll have an aha moment, because I had it in the 8th grade. So that's my formal training, band in 8th grade. And then I've just been kind of just curious and astute, and then I got thrown into a musical style where they started pulling all those kind of jazz chords. So I had to pull out a book, do the math, figure out how to go, oh, that's pretty cool. Ow, that hurts to play. Okay, I need to practice something so it doesn't hurt anymore. And so I get intentional, and I work at it until it's natural. And we're all doing the same thing all the time, stretching muscles we didn't have. Getting back to this, being intentional in our preparation by first taking the time needed to quiet ourselves and hear from God about the direction of I wrote worship gathering is essential, but of a job interview is essential, of a relationship with a spouse is essential, how I approach my work is essential. Being intentional and preparing ourselves for whatever it is that God has placed us to do in our life, in our work, in our vocation is essential. I really am a big fan of, and it seems countercultural in our Western society to stop. You know, some religious movements and doctrines are huge on what they call a Sabbath. And so in the Jewish culture, the Sabbath, I think, was Friday 5 to Saturday 5, 6. So it was a time where you didn't work, you didn't cook, everything you did, you prepared in advance so that you could stop during that time. And you know, the intentions were very good and very spiritual. We call Sunday our Sabbath. You know, it's the Sabbath. We don't do. Any of you guys grow up in a town where on Sunday all the street lights went to flashing yellow and all the stores were closed? That's how I grew up. You know, Sunday was a day where things didn't happen, and business honored it, government honored it, television honored it. We don't live in that day anymore, do we? No. What Black Friday starts on Wednesday now?
Yeah.
Actually, Black Friday for somebody started November 1st.
Yeah.
Black Friday sales all month. What? All month Black Friday, so it's not really Black Friday, it's Black November. Right? Our culture just does not stop. We're constantly going. And I'm kind of a workaholic. Kevin, you a workaholic?
Try not to be anymore, but I might be.
How's that working out? How's that working out for you?
Not me.
You know, it's a crazy thing when you do stuff that you love to do, and you're passionate about it, that you can say yes to so many things and not take the time to rest, to find that be still moment, know that God's in this. You know, well, I can't stop because if I don't do this thing, I'm not going to get paid, and so I got to work on Sunday. Or what if we consider and pray through it with some good godly counsel? What if I just not do that and trust the Lord for my provision and for the adding of that? Well, I got to tell you, I'm lousy at this. I am. I wish I was better. I'm getting better. I'm learning to find Sabbath in different things. I get a Sabbath half an hour once in a while, you know. Yeah.
I'm so lousy at it that a few weeks ago I had an opportunity to go to a sort of like a retreat, and I really didn't want to go because for some reason I think I'm the only one that can take care of the foster care home that I have. And it's really funny how it all happened, but it's everybody's personal experience, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things is they don't let you do anything from the time they pick you up from your house. You couldn't even drive there. Whoever sponsored you drove you there, gave you dinner. They carried all your luggage in. And I didn't quite understand all that. And then they had you be quiet that whole night. And that's hard for me. You know, you couldn't talk to each other, and you were placed with other people. And then by Friday morning I was okay, and I really accepted. But God did reverse psychology on me, and because I always want to be in control. And so I got upset because they wouldn't let us have our phones. And so I talked to someone, and the lady says to me, well, it sounds like you're too busy, so maybe you should go home. And when they said that, I thought, no, I was thinking of going home. You don't tell me to go home. And God knew that she wants to be in control, so now she's going to stay. So I decided to stay. And during that week where I couldn't do anything, you didn't have your phone, you couldn't even have your watch. They did everything for you. You had classes, it was all wonderful. But the point of it all is, at one time, they gave us these cards that people in our church wrote, and I didn't know they wrote it. The first one I picked was Deanna's, and this is how lousy I am at being too busy, which the acronym was busy, B-U-S-I, being under Satan's yoke. When you're too busy and you don't know it. And so God was trying to tell me something, and I opened the first card and I was in tears. It was from my daughter, who knows that I needed the rest and I needed to take time. All she said was, hi Mom, enjoy. First line. Second line, listen, exclamation mark, space, 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 and she wrote, shh. I started crying because you don't take time to be still and listen to God. And then she said, I love you. That's all she wrote. That's the only card I needed. I just cried, and God showed me, you needed this time. And you've got to take time to refire, like she was saying on that Sunday. Refire, because you're not in retirement, but you need that time to rest. So I'm just so glad for this class, because even if I'm not a musician now, I once was. That's when I heard the poor music in my head. And I'm going back to it. I'm thinking, wow, did we do it that way? You know, I can't believe we did it that way. But anyway.
Was it with the saw and the spoons?
Well, no, that was like at a conference, but we did have things like that.
No, it wasn't. That was at our church.
That was at our church. But you know, God let me do that for a certain amount of time, and then my children took over. And my husband and I always prayed that our kids would do better than we would. And to see my children, I forgot how we would pray that when you said, do you remember something that you forgot? And when I watched, and you were on stage with them for Worship Unleashed, and you started off with Johnny singing, I want to see your face, you know. And it just dawned on me that, God, you're answering our prayers, because not only are my children up there, but I had so many grandchildren up there. And he's showing me that he is faithful if you remain faithful. God is good. He's really good.
Amen.
All right, there's half a dozen young folks in this room. Are you listening to that? My dad used to have this saying. I never understood it. I thought it was the silliest thing. But he used to say, don't do as I do, do as I say. Because he wasn't doing it necessarily, you know. And so I'm saying to you what the Lord is saying over and over to us historically, be still and know I'm God. And it really is countercultural, even in our Christian culture, in our walk. So I give you permission in Jesus' name to explore that and find out what that is, what it is for you. It's different for all of us, but essential for every one of us. Stop, pray. Don't move. Just be still. Quiet your mind, your body, and your heart, and listen. You know, and how do we listen? We need to be in His Word. We need to be away from distractions, from things that get us. You know, one of the hardest things to do is, for me sometimes, is longer prayer. Is it true for you guys to start praying about something, you're there, and I'm going to pray for an hour, and you're 5 minutes into it, and you're thinking about Cheerios, or, you know, need an oil change in the car, or something somebody said, and you're off on this rabbit trail, and, you know, it's like any muscle the first time we use it, it's going to be a little hinky on us, but we just keep bringing it back. We keep working it. We keep getting this discipline in our life. And there comes a point when we're able to be still and do that, and be able to then, with the other disciplines that we have in our life of waiting on the Lord, hearing, being in the Word. For me, sometimes it's just music, just listening to instrumental music, worship music, and a lot of times it's the quieter, more introspective things that are deep in their lyrics, and eventually I'm there. I'm in that spot. But then we put a time limit. Well, I got an hour to do this, God. So let's go. And imagine if we were to get that discipline into our life of Sabbath and stopping and remembering what God has done and thanking for it. Because God has saved us from so many things, protected us from so many things, and done so many amazing things in our lives, all of us, and a lot of it we just miss. He's doing it because He's faithful. He's blessing us because we're attempting to be faithful. There's a synergy in that, but we're blinded by all the things that we're doing sometimes. We don't notice that He did that, but at least, know the author and then just listen. And this is, I kind of directed this towards worship leaders in planning a service, but imagine the ministry, the work, the relationship, whatever it is you're involved in. What's in your heart? What's in your head? What's God showing you through life, through other individuals, through music? What's creation saying all around you? I worked in an aluminum plant when I was younger, out of school, and it was about averaged. It was an average about 160 degrees inside, and we wore overalls and flannel because it was just aluminum, and you just had to protect yourself. And I remember one time stepping outside and getting chilled. Oh man, gosh, kind of chilly out here. It's sunny and everything. It's up the gorge, and there was a little thermometer right out that window. It was 105 degrees outside. 105 is in the middle of summer, and I got a chill. After that, it was really weird. I started feeling weather differently. And the hot weather, thank you, Lord, this is just so wonderful. The cold weather this morning, I was like, this is brisk, thank you, God. You know how we get, I hate the cold. If it's cold, all bets are off. I'm not coming out.
Yeah.
And if it's too hot and muggy or anything like that, I've gotten to this place in my life where I feel things like that physically, and I thank God for it. I'm just so grateful I can feel it, So what's creation saying around us? It's cold. Oh, thank you, Lord. I love this. It's raining. Oh, wow, it's going to be green someday. Probably in the form of moss.
Yeah.
What songs are you listening to that is moving you emotionally and spiritually as you wait on the Lord and consider what it is that you're about to put your hands to in ministry and life and work and relationships? What Bible verse or verses are ringing in your heart? Well, I got to tell you, for me, one of them is this Psalm 46:10. It's really, really been kicking me around the last year, and it's a good thing. What are you happy about? What are you sad about? What are you lamenting? I've got stuff, friends, that has got me on my knees. And out of that, nonetheless, your will be done, Lord. I hate what's going on in this thing, but God, I trust you. That's a form of worship, friends. That's a time where we're communing with God, acknowledging God, sensing God, communicating with God, and being willing, by positioning ourselves there, to be able to hear from God. We begin with God, observe what He may be doing in and around us, listen to what He may be saying through His Word, through other people. You guys believe in those divine interventions where somebody just happens to be at the right place at the right time to say the right thing? In fact, I think that just happened an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously?
Divine appointments.
Exactly. Well, there are no coincidences. God, we got our clock and we start, it's 24 hours, we start, in the morning and we end at night, and then it's another day, and it goes from here to here, and here we're little and stinky, and here we're old and stinky, whatever, however that works out on the great grand scheme of life or whatever, birth to death. But God doesn't function in that same time thing. It's kind of different and overlapping. I don't understand it at all. God's time-space continuum. But there is something about today with that guy, with Kevin asking me to be a part of this 2 months ago, with you folks being willing and prepared to be here, the door's open, the weather this, and a relationship situation, a church, all this stuff, God saw. And here's what he said. He said, okay. He approved it. Mm-hmm. And we had this divine intervention today. But the cool thing is that here today we recognize that, mm-hmm. and then we give the glory to God. Mm-hmm. That's a lifestyle of worship. Mm-hmm. And how did you feel when you heard Kevin tell us about that? What did you feel?
Rising up.
Huh?
Rising up. Awesome. God is awesome, knowing everything that we need.
How'd you feel, Kevin?
His divine timing is excellent.
I really appreciate moments like that,
Yeah.
To be a part of it is very humbling,
Yeah.
To be a part of God's bigger picture and to see Him work and then use each one of these people in this room as a part of it. It's a humbling thing.
Those are two lives that are in crisis. They're living people. Jesus died for those people. They have so much value to Him, we couldn't possibly begin to comprehend the depth of love. And God said, I want these guys to be a part of that today. And who are we? We're the ones that we're learning to be still. We're saying yes to God. We're positioning ourselves to be available. And He does things greater than we can ever dream or imagine. We don't know what the end of this. They have kids?
3 kids.
3 kids. Well, we agreed and believed and trust that God's going to do a miraculous thing through that. And who knows who one of those kids may turn out to be.
Right.
I've learned over the years, and I'm still learning this, that we can't ask people to follow us where we haven't been or we're not willing to go. You've heard me say that. It's a fact in what we're doing. You can't. My dad, don't do as I do, do as I say. Well, I did both. And my dad was an amazing, still is, amazing man, amazing mentor. He was a leader, and I was his kid, and I followed him, and all my brothers and my sister did the same. Folks, there's people following you. So we take in everything going on around us, be willing to be that person to go first, and don't ask people to be disciplined and prepared if we're not willing to be disciplined and prepared. Don't ask people to trust God and be still and know and spend time there if you're not willing to address that yourself. I'm telling you this, and you're going to hold me accountable. And Kevin, I know he is. Hey, you're taking a break, man. I talked about that, didn't I? Oops. Okay, I will. And no, I'm working on it. One of the things for me personally, I just share one of my Sabbaths. I don't know if I know it doesn't line up in the Bible because they didn't have motorcycles back then. But hey, that's when I get in that place and can pray and just worship and ride and go out for.
David rode his triumph through the land.
Did he? See, there we go. It stands up, stands the test. And I'm learning to engage and find those places where just me and God can be together doing our thing. David shared this kind of stuff regularly in the Psalms. This is more for the worship leaders. I'm going to move beyond that to something here that I put down. Every time we gather in His name, you believe this, the potential for miraculous life and eternity-changing moments exists. In fact, God's Word doesn't return void even in music. So it makes sense some of the things that we sing have purpose. Some of the lyrics that we prepare for our worship leaders especially, we need to have purpose. We need to be intentional with that because we're presenting the Word of God and we're accountable for that. You agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. as I'm reading through this, I really want to keep this not so musically driven, but here's a discipline to have as a worship leader and a worship pastor, especially when I'm in any sort of preparation. So this would be good for anybody who's doing any sort of leadership preparation in ministry. You keep your Bible close. I keep my YouVersion open. As a musician, I keep the tools close by so I have a point of reference, whatever that is. But mostly I keep my mind and my heart in a place the best I know how to be able to recognize what God's trying to tell me to do at that moment as I prepare for what it is that I'm going to do as a ministry leader. You follow me there? I love this question. And I've had this asked so many times, and this will apply across the board, I think, to what we're talking about. How can the Holy Spirit move spontaneously if we have everything planned for weeks in advance? Anybody got an answer to that?
You plan, but you already know in your heart that you will submit to the Holy Spirit.
There you go. Is the Bible relevant and alive and practical today to us? I mean, this is a silly question, isn't it?
No.
Yeah. And yet, would it be safe to say that that was prepared weeks in advance? The Bible? So it really comes to a few weeks maybe?
Yeah.
A few thousand weeks? Light years, yeah. There's, in our culture, especially in some of our modern, I'll speak to some of the worship experiences I've been a part of, conversations I've had, that it seems to be that if we plan too much, we take away spontaneity. We talked about that earlier. We can't be spontaneous unless we just kind of wait for the last minute and go. That can be a real disaster. It really can. When it works like that is because of the price that the people involved paid for years prior to that in their personal preparations, musicians, as Christ followers, as leaders on the way. So when you see something like a Bethel and it looks like it's spontaneous, and it is, they didn't just pick the instruments up that day. Mm-hmm. And they didn't just have a random thought. There has been some time and community. I love what Kevin was sharing earlier about how they prepared in the church. We used to do the same thing. Nelda's husband Bob would come in, hour before service, 2 hours if he needed to, and touch every chair and pray for it before the service and just anoint it. You know what? Is there something supernatural about that when Bob Myers touched a chair, heaven made a course adjustment? Or was it the heart of him and the obedience to take a step of faith and say, Lord, whoever is here, I pray for them and pray that you'll meet them? That discipline is what I'm more seeing. And that's a reflection of a heart condition that I'm trying to, is being so modeled well for me, trying to pick up in my life. So there is no such thing as that 11th hour, just got lucky, put it together. There's lots of preparation involved in this. I know that I shared this last night when Pastor Lou prayed. It blew my mind when he was preaching, and Kevin the next night, without notes, just flowing into things. But here's the deal: they paid their dues. They know the Word of God. They've seen the truth of God. They know. They spent time. They know how to communicate. They know how to hear and how to interpret what they hear into something that we need to hear in a way that we can hear it. And not only do it like I sometimes do, going on rabbit trails. They do it with a clear path that you can follow, and you get to the end of it, and you go, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing! Thank you, Lord." That's the kind of stuff that being intentional and preparing in what we're doing, whatever we're doing, whether it's music ministry or otherwise, that's where the rubber hits the road for us. And we have to be intentional, and we have to be disciplined. We have to work at this. I don't know where we picked up the notion that being a Christian was going to be easy, and that the journey and the tasks are just going to come really naturally, And every time we do it, we can, we're gonna see the most amazing things, that you ever. Have you had one of those services that was disrupted by some zany person acting out and being out of control? Well, that's not what I signed up for. You mean I gotta come to church 3 hours early and rehearse with kids who really can't play at the level that I play at, and then we're gonna pray for an hour and a half and do this, and I gotta buy my own coffee on top, I mean, we have so many bizarre expectations sometimes in our Christian culture where we miss what it really means to be a servant, what it really means to be a part of this, and it's work, friends. It's not easy.
Yes. Ministry is spelled W-O-R-K.
It is. It is. So is marriage.
Yeah.
So is raising kids. Everything of value
Yep.
seems to be pretty hard to do. And if it's easy, super easy, that's a walk in the park, there's nothing, it's probably not a valuable thing to be necessarily investing a lot of time or effort into. It probably doesn't have the things that really matter tend to be things we got to work at. Yeah.
I've never found Jesus an easy thing.
No.
I've always found the Lord in the hard things in life. And, in our culture, I think we want everything to be done for us and prepared for us. And if it's not prepared the way we want, then we go find another place for that. But, to find God in the moving of the Holy Ghost, it's never an easy thing.
I have found that to be so true. But isn't it true, even in the hard work though? Marriage is hard. Love it. Love my wife. What an amazing trade-off.
Great reward. Yeah.
It is. Serving Christ, serving the church. Gosh, it's hard sometimes. It really is. Well, we used to say sheep bite. They do. They bite. And they bite in places you don't want to get bit, and it hurts. It's not an easy thing to do. So if you're thinking studying enough for ministry and music and all that stuff, music's easy. That's pretty. I come natural, but it's a lot of work.
Yep.
There's a lot of effort goes into it. There's disappointments. It's all, you're dealing with human beings. I've heard this, and I'm going to tell you, if you have anything to do with me, I'll probably fail you at some point. I'm not perfect. I don't get it. So all right, there's a leader person saying he's going to potentially drop the ball. It happens. This is hard work, and it's hard for other people. But boy, isn't the trade-off and the payoff?
Absolutely.
When you see a guy walk in off the street who just got kicked out of his church for no good reason, really, and all you can remember is a picture of his mug on the side of a building, God going, that's where you need to go. And this guy obeys that. Okay? Because there's another equation in here. Which is amazing. We're here in a revival, but the guy had to say yes. So God's doing an amazing thing even in his life beyond everything that we're prepared for. And this whole thing, God says, yeah, this is going to be great. Watch this.
We'd
Boom.
never seen that up there on the building till we came in here. Till I came Mother's Day.
Oh, the sign on there?
Really? There's something up there. I don't know, street trees. I was driving or riding.
Street trees?
Street trees. There's big street trees in front of our building and kind of almost blurred out. But I never saw it, and I thought, how did I miss that? Now I can't go by. I sure see, that's our church right up there. I'm driving. Oh, yeah, excuse me, honk, honk.
He only hears the honk, though, on Tuesdays through Fridays by appointment.
Yeah, right.
So.
By appointment
The hogs have to be
only.
by appointment.
Here's the thing: as we as leaders, as we as leaders move in this, one thing I'm a big fan of. The best I know how to be is to plan for the team's success.
Yes.
So why I asked that question earlier, if Holy Spirit could move spontaneously if we're making plans in advance. I love to honor my team by giving them an opportunity to be as prepared as possible. It sounds like it's kind of self-serving. I want to give them lots of time so they do a good job. Really, when they succeed in their expression of worship and they're confident and comfortable and have had time to prepare with their schedule and they come in, how blessed they are to know. Hey, Mama, if I don't get stuff up on Planning Center, I'm getting texts and emails because she wants to be ready, because she wants to honor the Lord with her gift and by being prepared. But then when she gets up and sings and we experience that together, Am I right? What God does in and through and to you is so much worth the effort and the
That's right.
preparation. So why would I deny that to anybody that I'm leading? Is given the opportunity to be as prepared and as engaged as is possible. And then I'm not going to give Nelda Mariah Carey songs to sing.
Thank God.
Okay? And I'm not going to give me Yngwie Malmsteen's solos to play. I just went right over your head, didn't you? Yngwie, you know. I'm not gonna put that on myself to do that, because I'm not going to succeed at playing at that level of music. So I'm always working at helping my team have the most successful, engaging experience they can as leaders. Now, as leaders, we're synergistically engaged, we're comfortable, we're prepared, we're on point, we're experiencing the presence of God as lead worshipers, those walking through the door first. I love the the musicians marched in front of the army, so theoretically, who got the first arrows?
Yeah.
Okay, when this is all happening together, the potential of what happens in our services in our congregation, we won't see the end of. Pretty amazing kind of stuff, huh? So plan for your team success that way. Well, you don't need to know about the first song, do you?
First.
Worship leaders, song flow, tempo. I do want to show you something though. This is just really cool. A chance to think out of the box. I'm going to show you something that I do with our team periodically, so that I can help them succeed at what they're doing. You ever had a song, music team, that you got to it? Who plays on worship teams here? You get there and you learn the song just like the recording, and then there's the 16-bar guitar solo.
Yeah.
And you either play it, or you play through it, or you ignore it, but you don't necessarily cut it, because we rehearsed it that way. And you ever run into that, Pastor Lee? Some of the songs? I'll do some editing for you. This is a song. This is just something I love to do with show with worship leaders, but give you permission to prepare your team. Remember the song "This Is the Day" by Today's the Day? Okay. All right, we're worshiping. God is great. What do you do? This is what we do. Huh?
We're all going to do that with Darren on Sundays on the electric when he does that.
Yeah, all right.
We're all being a...
How do you get it to flow together if you're chopping out
I'll
parts?
show you.
The time,
Huh?
match the time.
This is what I love to do. There are actually people I know on my worship team, when I was leading at my previous assignment, that had never heard some of the songs with the guitar solos, because I chopped them before they heard them. Remember the song, oh, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. What was the name of that song? It's an Amazing Grace kind of a song. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Well, you gotta sing it like you're in Creed. Save a wretch like me. What was it? Jeremy Camp.
Yeah.
Grace like rain.
Grace like rain.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Grace like rain.
Good job.
There's a whole bridge in that song
Yeah, we do
that just annoyed me. It was like we had this great song, and well, we got to put something in here because it's a bridge. It's going to be on radio. So what is it? A bridge or a solo? Bridge. And they put this thing in. It never made any sense to me. Lyrically, it didn't reinforce what we had just been singing and talking about. So I cut it out. And when I introduced it to the team, it never had the bridge. There are folks that never heard the bridge in our church of that song. They listen to the radio. Wow, this is a new version? Okay, so I might do something along these lines. Let's see how we can eliminate this. Okay, I'll overlap it a little bit. Hello. That's a nice little hook. I got a guitar player going, I'm gonna learn that part. And it was just the edit. And that's what I'll present to the team, okay? And this is in the key of D, okay? Oh boy, 9 o'clock in the morning, that's gonna be pretty high to hit. That's
You're
pushing it.
literal on
So
weights.
let's do this. Let's take it down to the key of C,
There you go.
because everybody at 9 o'clock in the morning hasn't had enough coffee. Singing the high notes. And I'll run that down as a track, and that's what the team will learn with a song chart in the key of C. They'll rehearse it that way. Well, guess what? If I cut the solo out and put it in the key that they're going to actually learn the song in, I just save them a ton of time, because if they're learning it in the key of D and then they have to transpose it down to that, and remember to cut the solo out. So how do we cut out the solo? What bar do we? There's all this equation that they have to do versus sit down. There's a chart and get lost in learning how to play this thing. That's one of the things that I love to do to make our teams successful in their worship experiences, giving them the tools that they need.
What program was that?
It's called Reaper. It's a standard DAW, and it's, I mean, if you buy it, they'll let you use it for free for a couple of years. If you buy it, it's like $50. And I use it in all the studios I work in. It's one of the most powerful programs I've used, period. And you don't have to drop $1,000 to get it. But again, that's is part of in the role, specifically in music pastor, worship leader, facilitator. I do things like this for my team. And let's say that the song before that was in the key of C, and I took this down to C, so now I've got a transition of 2 songs in the same key. Now, rather than 2 individual songs starting and stopping, I've got one 10-minute expression together. You understand that? Okay. I'm going to move on to the last section that I want to talk about with you guys.
What section would that be?
Huh?
What section would that be?
You want to pick up at where is it at? Page 66? No, farther. I want to go towards the end here. Again, take this book with you, read it, keep it as a resource, mark it up, share it.
I don't have 62 pages.
I'm looking for it.
So you're looking at 75?
Let's look.
Hold it. I only have
71.
62 pages.
Recruiting for bars in the wrong place.
You don't
No.
have a half a, you didn't take a credit class.
I'm going to tell you here, hang on there. We're kind of jumping around in this thing because there's a lot of stuff that
80 pages?
we don't need to touch on. It's page
Did you write in
75.
this?
I only put my name
Page 75.
on the second page.
Okay, that's super good.
I got cheated.
The worship pastor leader is a pastor. The youth pastor as a pastor. The office executive manager as a pastor. You got 75?
Oh, sound
Thank you.
And we're going to finish up with this today, and I want to just talk about this as we go over some of the thoughts, and I welcome commentary from our senior pastors in the room. If I'm on this, if I'm on the platform as a worship leader, I'm a leader in my church. There's no way around it. If people are going to sing and follow where I'm going, I'm leading them. which for me implies that there are some responsibilities, some disciplines, and some considerations that I need to put into my lifestyle, my DNA as a leader, okay? One of the things that I love to be better at and working towards is being a much better communicator and a much better listener. Doing life with our church. Here's the truth, and correct me if I'm wrong. Church people, the young, they're old, men and women, adults and children, they are people who meet us with various diversities. What do you think about that? They have a different measure of faith, different areas of dysfunction. Nobody's dysfunctional in this room, huh? Except for me.
Sure.
Some have experienced so many things. A lot of it we won't be able to relate to personally, especially if we're younger than them. If you're a young person in a room with older people, there are things those folks have seen you can't possibly understand, good and bad. Good and bad. Many have walked with God in ways that we haven't. I love hearing about Pastor Kevin and Pastor Lou's ministries outside of the church walls and how they conduct themselves and the things that they've seen and experienced as a result of being pastors outside of the church, being pastor leaders. One of the things that I really am a strong believer in is really becoming a good listener. There's life going around us everywhere in our churches.
Yeah.
Far beyond the weekend gatherings, like what happened an hour and a half ago. There's life going on everywhere. What would happen if we were too busy, not focused, distracted, and passed this gentleman off in some way of like, why don't you call back on the office between the hours of 10 and 4 on a Tuesday? We'd love to talk with you then, versus listening. And the listening part isn't just listening to the individuals there. What was God trying to say? You said this, Kevin, trying to hear what God wanted you to hear in this moment about this individual, and working that into a lifestyle as leaders in our church. The green room. I hate that room. I love that room. I hate that room.
We're in the room.
I've been in and out of green rooms my whole life as a musician or whatever it is that I do. We've created a place for sometimes for musicians where at the end of the worship service they can go and hide. And that's not our calling, that's not our responsibility. I believe for a second that, because that's you've acknowledged yourself as a performer, and when my performance is over, my work is done. And that's not the case at all. There are people
Amen.
in need all around us, and we are the leaders in the church. You know what? There's something that you're gifted at that I will never be able to I won't even dream to be able to function how you can function in you, and pastor, and you. How old are you? 17. There are things, seriously, that God has designed and equipped you to be able to do. There's no way on planet Earth I'm called and able to do. So as you're walking through the church halls and listening, and in your community, in your school, and your family, and you're able to hear, and you're dialing into what God's doing in and out of your life, you're uniquely equipped to hear and respond and minister in a situation like nobody else. And you're a leader in that regard, and you're a pastor, I believe, to the fullest extent of that. Is the pastor the guy says, yeah, he's one of the guys that stands up here and preaches and teaches and does that. But what if we all approach our life as pastors and as missionaries, as ambassadors of what God has done and in and through us everywhere we go? I mean, I'm not saying anything new or revolutionary. We've heard this kind of thing, but what if we really did it? What if we did that? We're there. I told you about the guy in the bar, the guy who tried to kill himself. I was listening, but I wasn't really listening, but I was kind of listening, and all of a sudden, there was something that was said, and it changed the tone, and it was like, I'm literally praying under my breath, God, give me something to say. Help me speak to this situation, because this is real. And he's not, it's not a heavy revelation. He's not dying on the vine here. He's sharing a story, but what his remarkable encounter included was he never expected to find God where he was that night. And we didn't come in bringing God. We were just in agreement with God, celebrating each other in life, and the two intersected, but we had ears to hear to speak to that situation, and he was able to confess and share something that I believe made a change in his life. He found out he can't hide from God at halfpenny. He can't hide from God, even if he wasn't trying to. He found out that there are no coincidences. Where he goes, God is. And he used the rock band. He used the band to make a connection with that. We're all uniquely equipped, and we're all uniquely gifted in such a way that wherever we are, as a temple of God, there he is. What amazing things are right around the corner waiting for us to be a part of. Worship leaders, when you walk off that platform, who are you in the context of your local church? Pastor Lou was telling me about, what was that guy's name from San Francisco?
Tim Moon.
Who?
Tim Moon.
Tim Moon. Guy's been leading worship on the streets of San Francisco, walking around on the streets of San Francisco, 35 years? 40 years? 42 years?
Every weekend for 42 years.
Just leading worship. All right. Do we sometimes get in our head that to lead worship, we got to have this big audience, and we got to have the trappings and the undivided attention and the carefully crafted song? All that stuff's important and all that. But could I walk around by myself, just me and Jesus, and could I lead worship of me to him and be effective? Is that worship? Is that a worship service?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty powerful. You guys, do you worship alone at home ever? On your own, in your car? I mean, we do it, so it doesn't seem like that much of a stretch. How do we do that as a lifestyle? Where are we doing that? So, who do you want to be as the pastor leader of wherever it is you're called to be the pastor leader of? And every one of us are called. Who is it that you want to be? What is it you see in your life? What are you willing to do? What's the exploration going to lead you to? Who do you want to be? Who are you called to be? I had a dream years ago, freaked me out, it was so cool, that I went into a hospital, this dream, I went into a hospital, and I laid hands on somebody in the name of Jesus, and they were healed. Good, well, done, they got up, and I went to the next room. I laid hands, and then, Jesus, you're healed. And they got up and they healed. And all of a sudden, the only thing I wanted to do in this dream was go to room to room to room and empty that place out. I wasn't thinking about a job in this dream. I wasn't thinking about a relationship. I wasn't thinking about my frustrations or anything else, the crazy things that were Martians and dream stuff. None of that stuff mattered. The only thing that mattered is get to that next person and pray for them, knowing, I knew that if I did it, they were going to get up. That's how the dream went. I woke up from that dream going, God said that's actually true about us. So what are we going to do about that? I told you about leading worship and hearing other guitars and other singers, and then people who were in the congregation who were praying and worshiping saw what I heard. They saw what I heard. What are we going to do about that? Huh? What are we willing to do about it? Who's God calling us to be beyond the music, beyond the task of the ministry that we're involved in this? So what are some thoughts? What are some ideas? Who's God calling you to be? What does this mean to you when I say crazy stuff like this? Walk around laying hands on people in dreams.
That's called Make Me a Bridge. And I just always trying to figure out what that is. And then I get it in dreams. It's to reach out to others in various groups. It doesn't have to be this group here, this group here. But anybody reach out to anybody that he tells you to.
So are there some things that you might have to let go to be able to do that effectively?
Yes, fear.
Fear. See, I was hoping that would be, because that's a big one for us.
Right.
And isn't it interesting what fear is? Fear is completely irrational. We all have it. I mean, it's a disease. But it's completely irrational. And having emotional, almost physical, stopping response to something that you don't know is there, hasn't happened, don't know if it will happen, don't know if it even exists. But boy, I'm afraid to make a move because of it. It's just, yeah, we all do it, but it's completely irrational. If you didn't have fear, what would life be like if you weren't afraid to talk to somebody about Jesus?
I knew there was an acronym.
Yeah. What would your life be if you weren't afraid of something? What's something that all right, fear? That's a communication. That being able to communicate and bridge that gap. What's something else? Anybody afraid of anything?
Elevators.
Say- Yeah.
Church elevators.
Yeah.
Elevators, I'm claustrophobic.
I'm crazy claustrophobic. I'm
So-
over the top.
If I'm stuck in the elevator, I always tell the people, knock me out, or you're gonna go crazy with me in here.
Yeah. And yet we have no indication that the elevator's going to do anything.
Yeah.
In fact, I've only heard of maybe one or two stories in all of my life. Seen a couple on movies, but they made that up. It didn't really happen. So what's it really like? We don't know.
I'm a
Yeah, go ahead.
You say it.
I'm always afraid of conflict
Conflict.
because I've not ever had good encounters with conflict.
Yeah.
I'm not an effective conflict.
Resolution.
Yes.
Resolution.
I just, that comes from my childhood growing up. My family was not effective conflict solvers. And so that's played out into my adult life and my ministry life. I've not yet had somebody counteract something that I have said or done, but I know that that day will come, and I don't know how I'm going to handle it. It's
No, that's
nerve-wracking.
yeah. That's a great thing that we pray through and we fast through and we hope for. But it's true, isn't it? You don't know that it's even out there.
Yeah.
You've got a track record. If you look backwards, that it hasn't actually happened yet. But there's the possibility that it could happen, but we don't know if it will happen. See how crazy it sounds? Yeah, we all do it. We all do it. There's all sorts of stuff that I'm afraid of.
the lower
Elevators
level
is
of
high.
the
Lori's afraid to tell you what she knows fear stands for.
What's that?
False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
See, you overcame that fear in the name of Jesus.
And so we want to switch that to faith, which is full assurance in the heart.
There you go. Faith.
Yeah, fear is the faith of unbelief.
The fear of
The faith of unbelief.
Here's the faith of unbelief.
Oh,
Yeah.
crap. I got boatloads of that. Oh, man. I said on the video, you edit that out? Said the C word. Well, that's all really, really good stuff, and it's very, very legit stuff.
So to solve my claustrophobic problem on flying on planes, I always have to sit next to someone that talks a lot because it distracts me. This last trip, I
You fly
took
good with my wife
Kaylani.
then. You fly really good with my wife.
I took Kaylani with me so that I wouldn't be afraid while I was on the plane. But then she was more afraid of me. She was crazy. So that distracted me so much that I couldn't be afraid because this little girl was like, ah! I thought, God, what happened here? She's supposed to help me.
And you actually got kind of momentarily cured, taking
I
care of her,
did
right?
take it.
Nice.
Well, the person sitting next to her kept looking at me because we were sitting on the aisle. She was on one side, and the person kept looking at me because she knew I was the grandma already, and she'd go,
Yeah,
because she was going nuts.
it happens. I was coming into Portland one time on a flight, and I was sitting next to a lady, and it was very windy. And so if you've ever come into Portland when it's windy, here's the runway, and the plane's flying. Like I'm looking out the window, and I'm seeing the runway. You know something's up. Okay? Something's not right. And I know enough about what these guys train for this stuff. They can land it backwards, and they do all sorts of stuff. And there's so many computers and everything involved. She's literally shaking. She's so terrified. She's so completely terrified. So, and she's, and one time she, we hit a bump. She grabs my leg. That's not going to work. Stop that. and then I said to her, "You have kids? Yeah. Do you drive a van? You ever been in a van? Yeah. You ever hit like a gust of wind and it pushes the van?" She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "What do you do?" Well, I just kind of, he goes, "That's all they're doing up in front.
Aw.
You're going to be fine." And she just relaxed. She's scared to death of something was not going to happen. But boy, she played it up to a point that she was nearly physically sick. Okay? No, this is very good stuff, guys. Thanks for sharing this.
I'm afraid to go below the first floor of this building.
Well, there's fear and then there's wisdom.
Well, that's
Put
good.
that over in the wisdom side. That's just good common sense.
That would
stuff.
be another scary place.
So as you interact in your weekends, in your various roles, do we make eye contact with people? Do we shake hands? Do you ask your name? Do you build conversations? As leaders in our church, as worship leaders come off the platform, as leaders working with our kids, and the various different things we do we make a point to interact with the people that we're doing life with? This is our family, this is our community, and we're doing life with them. You know, one of the things that I've learned to do, because it was modeled to me, is when somebody has a need, a prayer need, you know, they're going through some stuff and they're really struggling. Is that I've learned, and I don't have this by any stretch perfected, learning to not just say I'll pray for you, but to stop and pray for them. Last night I was coming home and I heard some things about what was going on over in Brussels. Brussels was just about shut down as a community, as a city. And I've been over there many times, and I have a real dear friend that's a missionary there. And he just popped into my mind, I need to pray for him. I started praying for him, and then on Facebook with him, I sent him a text, or a Facebook message, on private, not on the reader there, on the
Messenger.
just private messenger, and said, Steve, buddy, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for your family, I'm praying for opportunity and protection in what you're doing. And it's 10:20 p.m. right here. And I've begun to do those types of things. You ever heard those stories when they come up and they tell a story that somebody felt compelled to pray for somebody, and then halfway around the world, like something was happening right there. God's got us connected. He does. I want to witness it. I want to record it. I want to celebrate it. So I start putting down the time and the date sometimes when I'm sending these notes or praying for people, or call them and say, I'm praying for you. It's 1:51 on Saturday. I'm just thinking about you and lifting you up right now. And I go with that. Even in our congregations, in our comings and goings with our family here and on the streets, are we becoming those kinds of people as leaders? And I challenge you to, if you don't already do that, to take a step back and look at the great opportunity we have to invest in people. Like I said, you might be, what's your name? Liv. You might be the only person that's able to hear because of the noise going around in other people's lives. I'm a little older than you, and my radar is a little different than yours, and how I tune into conversations by virtue of my culture, my background, my age, my history, my gender, everything. I just hear things differently. But you don't. You hear them over here, and something comes up, and you have the opportunity to stop and address that in prayer right there. Is a leadership moment. That's an amazing time that very possibly will never be celebrated by anybody but Jesus. Is that enough?
Yes.
I think so. What an incredible opportunity you have. Something's going on with you. So you're gonna have an opportunity to do something. I don't know. Just put that away. And if you ever see me again and go, something happened, and I'll just go, okay, did you write the time down? I believe strongly the greater part of our responsibilities as leaders is much less visible than we perceive it to be in terms of our primary thing. For instance, let me paraphrase it. As a worship pastor, you would assume that my primary responsibility is facilitating music, worship services, things like that in a setting. But I'm beginning to believe more and more as I've experienced it that the greater part of my calling happens away from this 20 minutes I get on a platform, and everything to do with the other 7 days and so many hours of the week that I'm interacting with family, people, friends in the church, and the culture and the community that I live in. And as we do that, believe me, it's a reflection of our church, the core values of our church, Again, I can't come back to enough how this guy was able to come in here, meet somebody who was able to introduce him to somebody who brought him to Pastor Kevin, knowing that Kevin would stop what he was doing and meet that individual. That's a core value in this church that we hold as family in this church, and we responded to it. Well done. That's being the being Christ to our community and these people. Complete stranger. Yeah? You know, we all have different things. I just happen to be the guy that's supposed to play the guitar. He's the guy that's going to bring the message. These are the people that are going to work with the youth. There's one who's going to lead the choir. This guy's, you do tech, right? You're the video guy. We all have different kinds of responsibilities. Well, you do a really good job on that.
For now.
For now.
Just for today.
It's prophecy.
You are now.
We just happen to be the person with the responsibility visibly as it appears, but the greater responsibility is what we're doing outside that. This is a lifestyle activity, my friends. On page 77, turn there. I put a handful of scriptures that I hope you will reflect on in the context of the pastors that you are becoming, if you're not already. I believe you are. You know, why don't we just read through them? Somebody just jump in there. I'll read the first one, John 4:19, and somebody pick up after that. We love because he first loved us.
My command is this: love each other as I have loved you.
Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not thirst, it is not proud.
Love all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins.
Right on.
Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another.
This is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out his commands.
Last one.
Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God.
See a core value kind of in just those few scriptures, and there's so many more.
Love, 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 love.
These were inspirationally written from the perspective of instruction from the writer, the reader. The different people who pen these things were collecting and sharing things to pass on to us. They're like short little leadership notes. And oftentimes, you know, we read them, and as we do scripture, go, that's pretty cool, I like that, that's nice. But does it get into here and change how we do what we're doing? As leaders in this conference at this time, you've proven yourself to be people that aren't satisfied with just coming to church on Sunday, but you'll take 7-8 hours out of your weekend and take a journey with me. I'm nothing significant. I'm trying to figure this thing out, but you still trust God and stepped into this, invested time into something, means you're going deeper and farther with what you feel God's calling you to do. And what my challenge and encouragement is as you look over these scriptures, put them in the context of how you're functioning in ministry and caring for people and loving them, and understanding that God loved us. God loved me when I was complete pond scum.
Mm-hmm.
He knew about me before I ever even gave a nano thought of who he could be, period, let alone in my life. So, as Paul used to say, I'm the chief among all sinners, and look what God's done through him. We all are so amazingly loved and blessed, and it's such a core value to God. How are we as leaders facilitating that and loving others? Something we need to, again, constantly be coming back to the beginning, constantly asking, why are we doing what we're doing, and how can we do it better? As leader pastors, these words reflect the power and the necessity of community for all believers, and the basic underlying reality that love truly is the foundation of our faith, friends. 1 Corinthians 13. It's not enough to just lead our congregations. We have the opportunity to pastor people, even if we're 17 years old, in our area of influence. Amen?
Amen.
final thought out of 2 Peter says, for this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith excellence, to excellence, knowledge, to knowledge, self-control, to self-control, perseverance. That will get us every once in a while. Hold on to it. To your perseverance, absolutely godliness. To godliness, brotherly affection. And to brotherly affection, unselfish love. That's the New English translation. Okay?
Amen.
So here's what I want you to do as basically as an assignment of this class. And although a lot of this syllabus comes from the perspective of music and leadership, I want you to read this last thing it's on the page 80 there towards second paragraph. Describe in 500 words or so your ideal put in ministry, not necessarily unless you're a music ministry emphasis. Your ideal ministry 5 years from now in detail. And here's what I want you to do. I said this earlier. Dream big dreams, pray big prayers. I want you to dream it. I want you to stop. I want you to Psalm 46:10 it. Okay? Just be still for a moment and think and dream. What could it possibly be? What would it look like? Who would be involved? How would I touch them? What would be the environment that we're doing? What are the tools that we're going to use? Write about your ministry team 5 years from now, what your vision is for that, your mission and how it's being accomplished in your church and your community, and your long-term goals for music ministry in your church to come. We don't know. None of us are promised tomorrow, but that doesn't mean we don't plan. That doesn't mean we don't dream, we don't pray, and we don't take the next step. Gosh, if we're not promised tomorrow and the Lord's going to come anytime, why don't we just kind of sit around and wait? Because He'll be here tomorrow, He'll be here the next day, but does it really matter? Mm-hmm. No, be busy. Be about your Father's business, because here's the deal, it's not about you. It's the people you're going to touch. Come with them. You're already in, so it's not about you.
Yeah, He's a generational God. He's not a generation, so we have to think generationally.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So how is God moving specifically in your ministry, in teams of growth, and the people you're partnered with? How is He moving in your life personally 5 years from now? Who do you want to be, and what do you hope and pray God will be doing in and through you in the future? Write it all down, pray over it, and of course I want you to step out in boldness. But if you'll write down my email, as far as stepping out in boldness, I want you to email it to me, okay?
What's your email?
I put down I'll give it to you. I put down 500 words or so. I don't know how many that is. And if you feel that you got to do it and articulately in 400, or you need 1,000, I want you to engage the exercise. Stop, think about it, pray about it, dream. Don't just go, well, based on my current trajectory, I'll probably be here. Go far beyond that. What's the bridge really look like in the life of the people? Who we really, really dream big. Who could I be touching and reaching? Write about it. Okay? My email is my name, Cory Knowland, CORY KNOWLAND @gmail.com. Just my name @gmail.com.
No dot between the Cory and the Nolan?
Nope, just straight Cory Knowland.
You're lucky you don't have that domain.
No.
And here's the truth, friends, and I'll finish up with this.
What?
As you're thinking about this, as you're writing down this 500-word essay, if it doesn't intimidate you, possibly terrify you, give you butterflies, affect you in some way, you're not dreaming big enough. You're not praying big enough. Go big. Go big or go home, all right?
That's right.
All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this.
When's it due?
By next Christmas.
What's normal?
Typically, your tests are due, your assignments are due by the start of the next class. As y'all know, last month was a little messed up, so we're giving you grace on that one. You just turn it in when you need to. But we're not having class next month, so let's just say, let's see, what's
By
today?
the end of the year.
Yeah, by the end of the year. Just say by the end of the year.
That gives you like 5.5 weeks or
Yeah.
so, 6 weeks.
Give you plenty of time.
Plenty of time to
And we'll
dream.
send you guys a reminder also. Okay?
Or I will be parked out in front of your house.
And it's a loud truck, isn't it?
Hey, you guys, I know we don't have all of our student body here right now. I know we don't have all of our students here right now.
Yes, listen up, listen up.